there's an increasing level of poverty in Canada. You know, the rich and the poor kind of gap is increasing, and I think there are increasing numbers of people who are what we describe as the working poor. So they're not welfare recipients sitting at home watching TV and drinking beer. They're people who go out to work every day, but they don't earn enough on minimum wage to afford shelter, food, and the essentials of life. We need to become better advocates for people. We need to challenge government and individuals to take seriously poverty reduction. You know, it's wonderful that we have the Muskoka project that's alleviating poverty in Africa, but we have people who live in worse than third world conditions in some situations, and we do nothing about it. We are content to allow that, and so it seems to me that we need to become more politically savvy, you know, with an election coming, because in fact poverty costs the government a lot of money. People who live with poverty are much more likely to end up in the healthcare system, a burden on the healthcare system, and in our correction system. And it costs something like $180,000 a year to keep a person incarcerated in a prison, and it costs $35,000 a year to house them. When you look at the economics of poverty reduction, not how much it's going to cost us, but how much we would save if we made sure that everyone had enough to live decently, it's huge. It's billions of dollars. The burden on our healthcare system, people living with poverty, is huge because they get sick more, they don't eat well, they end up with diabetes and other illnesses that are chronic, and then it costs us money to help to treat those illnesses. I think that the reality is that more and more everyone who is working with people who are living with poverty are moving in the direction of community development and empowerment. Because what they're realizing is that it's not sufficient to simply provide people with food and shelter. What you do is you disempower them by doing that. It's more important to help a person to figure out how to feed themselves and how to pay for their own shelter. It's the old adage of give a man a fish and he eats for a day, and teach a man to fish and he eats for a lifetime. So everything that we do is about helping people to think of ways by which they can empower themselves. And so we give people the confidence to speak up for themselves. We give people the practice they need to hone their English sufficiently so that they can get a better paying job. We provide them with the necessities of life so that they will pay their rent and not get behind. So we have a food bank and they can come to us for food, which helps to balance the budget, their budget. So everything that we do pretty much has a focus on empowering people so that they can move out of poverty. If everyone got up every morning and thought, wow, I have so much, people wouldn't feel that greed. If you have a philosophy of scarcity, then you always think that there's not going to be enough to go around and you're going to lose out. And that sets up a competitiveness. If your philosophy of abundance is that I'm a really good person, but so are you, and then we should be treated fairly and equally, then I think we could eradicate poverty. I think of the biblical phrase that people have been relying on forever to justify poverty, and that's Jesus' words that the poor you will always have with you. I would disagree with Jesus on that point. I think, yes, it is possible to eradicate poverty.